Hello, I'm Dan Rather, and welcome to the CBS Evening News Online edition. Just ahead, Iraq's votes have been counted, and Iranian-connected Shiites are a winner. We'll analyze how the new National Assembly may be shaping up. Also, what if you were taxed on every mile you drive? One state is considering that. We'll give you the inside story. And paying musicians what they deserve in the age of satellite radio and the Internet, and why it isn't always easy. It's all starting now on the CBS Evening News Online edition. In Iraq, the war goes on. A U.S. Army soldier was killed today. Iraqi leaders, meantime, are going over the election results announced over the weekend. Iranian-connected Shiites were the main winners. Many of them insist their Iranian connections are overstated and can be misleading. CBS's Kimberly Dozier reports what comes next.
Iraq's election results equaled sweet victory for the country's long-oppressed Shiite majority, but not a blank check. The Shiite coalition won the most seats, but not the two-thirds needed to force its agenda or its candidates on everyone else, though its leaders insist it never intended to.
We are working towards a free, democratic, pluralistic Iraq.
Some experts still believe the Shiites will try to implement some aspects of Iranian-style religious rule, especially in Shiite areas of Iraq.
All of these religious Shiite parties that came to power very much want the implementation of Islamic law and replacing civil law with Islamic law.
But others believe the vote was diverse enough that there will be hard bargaining among the different factions, including that of U.S.-backed Prime Minister Ayad Alawi. Even the Sunnis could turn this negotiating to their advantage. While most Sunnis chose an all-out battle against the Americans over participation in the elections, a few Sunni statesmen ran for office and won. They could now become significant swing voters, offering up their few seats to the highest bidder to break the political deadlocks that are sure to come.
Sunnis and Shia recognize that they are going to continue to live in the same country. They share this country. And they are going to have to share it in peace. They can't share it in war.
In short, everyone in Iraq's disparate political, ethnic, and religious groups will get something and will have to give something up. If they can sort out their differences in the debating chamber, perhaps some of the armed groups will stop making their points with bullets and bombs. Kimberly Dozier, CBS News, Baghdad.
More than 25% of what you pay at the pump goes to the government. But as cars become more fuel efficient, the government's take goes down. So now comes this idea. Instead of taxing drivers by the gallon, why not tax them by the mile? Sandra Hughes gives you the inside story on this.
College student Jason Just commutes an odometer spinning 2,000 miles a month. His gas bill almost topped his car payment.
Before I was paying about $500 a month.
So Jason bought a fuel-efficient hybrid and said goodbye to his gas-guzzling BMW.
So what kind of mileage do you get?
The EP estimate is 60 in the city, 51 highway.
Saving him almost $300 a month in gas. Great for Jason, bad for the roads he's driving on. Because he also pays a lot less in gasoline taxes, the funds that fuel highway projects and road repairs. As more and more hybrids hit the road, cash-strapped states are warning of rough roads ahead.
Officials in car-clogged California are so worried they may be considering getting rid of the gas tax altogether, replacing it with something called tax by the mile.
Seeing tax dollars dwindling, neighboring Oregon has already started road testing the idea.
Drivers will get charged for how many miles they use the roads, and it's as simple as that.
Engineer David Kim and his team at Oregon State University equipped this test car with a global positioning device to keep track of its mileage. Eventually, every car would need one.
And so if you drive 10 miles, you will pay a certain fee, which will be, let's say, 1/10 of what someone pays if they drive 100 miles.
The new tax would be charged each time you fill up. A computer inside the gas pump would communicate with your car's odometer to calculate how much you owe. The system could also track how often you drive during rush hour and charge higher fees to discourage peak use. That's an idea that could break the bottleneck on California's freeways.
We're getting a lot of interest from other states. They're watching what we're doing. Transportation officials across the country are concerned about what's going to happen with gas tax revenues.
Privacy advocates say it's more like Big Brother riding on your bumper, not to mention a disincentive to buy fuel-efficient cars.
It's not fair for people like me who have to commute, and we don't have any choice but to take the freeways. We shouldn't have to be taxed.
But tax-by-mile advocates say it may be the only way to ensure that fuel efficiency doesn't prevent smooth sailing down the road. Sandra Hughes, CBS News, Corvallis, Oregon.
In case you missed it, the last album featuring the late Ray Charles swept this year's Grammy Awards, copping 8, including Album of the Year. On the flip side, many artists who are not music royalty are owed royalties. CBS's Jim Stewart reports they're not necessarily unsung, just unpaid.
Thank you very much.
Oh, they're always easy to find on Grammy night. Young and old performers, the famous and the not yet famous. They all show up when awards are handed out. But a funny thing is happening in the music business. Under a little notice law passed 10 years ago, performers are now entitled to royalties for any of their songs played over satellite and internet radio as well. And hard as it is to believe, the nonprofit organization set up to make those payments,
hello, recording industry,
can't find many of the artists to send them a check. And not just a few, we're talking 30,000 performers or their survivors who are owed money.
We have artists who are owed anywhere from $10 to artists who may be owed as much as $15,000, $30,000 at the top end.
good enough for me and my Bobby.
That's Janis Joplin. Her survivors were owed money too and were finally spotted at this weekend's Grammy Awards. Some artists, like the rapper Nelly and the rock band Cheap Trick, just haven't bothered to fill out the paperwork yet. Others, like the legendary Frankie Valli, heard about the deal while out doing gigs like this one in Philadelphia and couldn't wait to sign up.
I will seriously be on the phone in the morning calling my attorney to find out if we've gotten any checks on this. I'm always ready to get a check.
For lesser-known artists, having no fixed address is one problem.
Do performing artists move around more than the average guy?
Yes, they do, quite dramatically, in fact.
Then there's the question of who's actually performing. There were a dozen versions of Fleetwood Mac, and someone's got to figure out who sang in each song that's played. Because, as every DJ knows, it's 7 cents per song per every 100 listeners.
So give me a ring on the ting-a-ling and let's get this thing together.
And it all adds up $100 million within 5 years.
What a difference a day made.
That's Dinah Washington from the 1950s. She's owed money too. Jim Stewart, CBS News, Philadelphia.
More stories are just a click away, but be sure to join me on television for the on-air edition of the CBS Evening News. On Tuesday's broadcast, the return of El Nino, and with it, some strange weather. From Death Valley, ablaze with flowers, to a parched Pacific Northwest. We'll show you why it's happening and what may be ahead. For CBSNews.com, I'm Dan Rather.